Hello, and thank you for being with me. I am Alex Krumer, and I am an economist who likes to use sports data to study things beyond sports. As usually, I will try to make it straight and to the point. Today, we will talk about corruption. Academic studies have shown that corruption is detrimental to economic growth and development. It slows industrial competition, reduces economic efficiency, and is associated with organized crime.
And he asked me, do we want the submarine with missiles or without missiles?
In recent years, there is a growing interest among economists to study the relationship between social norms and corrupt behavior. In one very famous study, researchers found that United Nations diplomats from very corrupt countries accumulated significantly more unpaid parking violations than their counterparts from less corrupt countries.
I have unpaid parking tickets.
The authors therefore concluded that cultural norms are important determinants of corruption.
Here we go, Seth.
You may ask, what does it have to do with sports? Well, unfortunately, there are many situations in sports that may provoke a corrupt type of behavior. For example, in another famous study, researchers investigated sumo fights. In these fights, one wrestler needed to win to avoid relegation to a less prestigious league, and another wrestler was relatively indifferent regarding the result. The study finds that in some pairs, fighters manipulated the results. Namely, a wrestler who needed to win eventually won, but in return, he had to lose in the following season. This finding brought us to think about what would happen in a similar situation in soccer, where one team needs to attain points in the last game of a season to avoid relegation, and another team is relatively indifferent regarding the result. Given that soccer is the most important game in the world, we can check the same situation in many different countries. This seems to be a nice experiment, since people in many different countries around the world face exactly the same and familiar task, which allows us to use a large cross-country sample. This setting provides us with an opportunity to investigate whether in more corrupt countries, teams needing to attain points to avoid relegation have a higher probability of achieving the desired result than those competing in less corrupt countries. So we investigated the results of such soccer games in 75 different countries over a period of 13 years. Our analysis reveals that the more corrupt the country is according to Corruption Perceptions Index, the higher is the probability of a team to achieve the desired result to avoid relegation. This finding is robust when controlling for things such as differences in abilities, home advantage, and country-specific economic, demographic, and political features. For example, our results show that teams that struggled against relegation in Switzerland achieved the desired result in only 44% of the cases. Unfortunately, in Russia, this result was achieved in 77% of the cases. Then we examined the result in the following year for the same pair of teams. Of course, we do not have an explicit contract of reciprocation between the teams.
Why don't we take a teensy little look at the contract?
However, our analysis shows that in more corrupt countries, the probability of a surviving team to reciprocate by losing in the later stages of the following year is significantly higher than in less corrupt countries.
What? Are you kidding? I have to give you my soul?
Our findings provide suggestive evidence that the prevalence of corruption in the institutional environment where the games take place seems to shape behavior. In other words, the virus of corruption may affect social activities that are not necessarily directly linked to governmental activities.
So if you could get us a table a little quicker, I'd appreciate it.
Of course, sir.
Okay.
How'd it go?
Had the money in the wrong hand.
Finally, if corrupt behavior may appear in soccer games that are being observed by others, we can only wonder what happens in less observable environments, such as promotions in labor markets or tenders in public sector that may directly affect economic growth. I hope you liked this video. All the references to the mentioned studies in the video appear in the description. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Likes and comments are there, and they are more than welcome.